Hello, this is John Long, and this is Clean Bread and Cheese Creek. Today is Saturday, September 21st, 2013. Yeah, it's been a long day. Trying to show you the incredible results that all these volunteers did in Bread and Cheese Creek today. We haven't gotten a final count of how many volunteers showed up today, but the area from Plainfield Road Bridge all the way through the Berkshires is almost completely spotless. It's beautiful. These people did an incredible job today. And I'm going to go through this kind of quickly as I can because there's a big storm rolling in. I want to make sure we document how clean this looks before anything else washes off from the street. As you know, Bread and Cheese Creek, one of its biggest difficulties is that stormwater management employed in Baltimore County is highly antiquated. It's circa 1960s and 70s stormwater management, which means that there are no buffer areas, there's no stormwater retention ponds along most of the stream, and that all of the parking lots, shopping centers, roadways, and highways are all designed to drain directly into Bread and Cheese Creek. That means not only all of the trash that has been on the roadways or that has blown out of trash cans is going to blow straight into the stream. That also means that any type of chemicals, so that means fertilizer, also antifreeze, oil, gasoline, or anything similar to it, which is on our roadways, will go straight into the creek without anything stopping it. This also creates this little creek to carry much larger of a volume of water than it should, which is causing whole-scale erosion throughout the entire stream. You see several samples of that through our photo sets and how much damage this is causing, not only to the property owners, but it's also causing immense damage to Chesapeake Bay. Considering the goals for the health improvement of the Chesapeake Bay, two of the major goals are nutrient reduction and sediment reduction. And Bread and Cheese Creek is rife with both ends of that spectrum, since our stormwater management is so deplorable. We are now walking through the Willow Road section. We started at North Point Road. We call it this because it parallels Willow Road, which is on our right, and you'll soon see we'll be not too long from now hitting Plainfield Road section as well. And again, I apologize for trying to move so swiftly through here, but we really are trying to get through this before the storm. Now, those of you who have heard of Bread and Cheese Creek, and this is your first time viewing one of your videos, I'll give you a little bit of background. We started cleaning this back in 2009, and when we started, the stream was so filled with trash and debris, it was frightening. I mean, and there was almost no life in it at that point in time. While we were clearing the first cleanup, we did manage to find a very large bullfrog underneath of a cardboard box. He was the first living creature we saw. So that's why we decided to name him as our mascot, and he became known as the lovable Fred E. Frog, which shows that with given a little bit of love and care, nature can survive and can bounce back. And as a matter of fact, since we started this cleanup, the amount of fish that have returned to the stream is off the charts. Salamanders, crayfish are all starting to come back. We've even seen blue herons and egrets starting to make their homes in the stream again, which before you would never see them. You're also starting to see a raccoon population starting to come back again, showing the health of the stream since there's a food source for them again, without having to dig through people's trash cans. Now, as for the historical side of Bread and Cheese Creek, Bread and Cheese Creek, we have been able to document, thanks to the historian Christopher George, back to 1732. It's the very first document we found with the name Bread and Cheese Creek on it. So that makes Bread and Cheese Creek one of the oldest named streams in the United States. And so if you think about it this way, it had its name before there wasn't even a name of the United States of America. And then it was originally seen on a document by Captain Phillips, who purchased a parcel of land in England along Bread and Cheese Creek for the purpose of establishing a grist mill, and that's the first mention of its name. Now, more on the historical side, the creek gets most of its importance due to the War of 1812 and the Battle of North Point, which took place in 1814. It's when the British, 2 weeks prior, went against the professional army of the United States and was able to very easily rout the American troops and in fact, burn Washington, D.C. to the ground. Now, some of the sections we were going through are pretty deep, so we're going to have to move a little bit slower through, like this one. Despite the fact that we haven't had a lot of rain, there are a few sections which are kind of deep, and what I mean by deep, I mean deep enough to actually go over the top of waders. So we're not talking like, chest height or anything like that. Now back to the history. So then, in 1814, the British thought, hey, well, we beat the American troops. We'll have no problem at all, beating these militia, farmers, volunteers in Baltimore. And we'll be able to march straight through Baltimore, burn it to the ground, come around the backside of Fort McHenry, and surround them. And that'll be easy, because they're just farmers, not professional soldiers. Well, that's where they made their biggest mistake. The man protecting his home fights twice as ferociously than any trained soldier, and that's been an established fact throughout history many times over. Local legend says that during the War of 1812, two young boys who were volunteers, Mr. Wells and McComas, volunteered to go forth and try and find out where General Ross was at the order of General Stricker. They came upon General Ross, who just came out of Gorsuch's Tavern where he had breakfast. And, back then with the uniforms that he wore, British General was all covered in gold and epaulets. He was very easy to find. Also, it was well known that he always traveled on a white horse. So although the two boys were only supposed to report his position, it's assumed that the two looked at each other and said, hey, you want to take a shot? Now, at that point in time, the British were well known as being the best marksmen in the entire world, and they knew that they would only get one shot, and then they knew that it would be certain death, because not only the noise of their rifles, but also the smoke would very easily give them away to the rest of the British soldiers. So they both shot. One of them hit General Ross through his arm and into his chest, killing him within a day. The British soldiers, of course, immediately returned fire, killing both the boys. Now, when the boys' bodies were found after the battle was over, both young men were found to be in the act of reloading their guns, not in running away. Now, so when people think that teenagers can't do a lot, or volunteers are worthless, here's your choice, the truth. We're now entering the Plainfield Road section of Bread and Cheese Creek. And this section parallel just underneath the Plainfield Road Bridge, and this section also goes along the shopping center, which we'll get to shortly. Now there are two sections in the stream which get to be very deep in this section, which we're going to have to probably just shut off the camera and start over again on the other side. So I apologize for that ahead of time. And as we're going through this section, one of the things you'll definitely notice is the erosion. You see the banks with all the exposed roots over here. That is, once again, from the creek being forced to carry large volumes of water, which it's really not designed to do. As we continue on, one of the things I'd like to do is I would like to thank some of the people, the incredible groups that supported us today by donations. We had 2 donations from private individuals. We had a donation from Got to Go Portable Restrooms, who gave us restrooms for the event. And we also had Baldwin County Highways give us a dumpster for the day. I'm going to shut off the phone now and we'll start on the other side, since it's getting to one of the deep sections.